thank you all for coming. I think we're going to wait a couple more minutes before we start in the hopes that a few more people will come in. With a little bit of luck, they will.
Q&A at the end, and so I have some note cards if you'd like to write down some questions while they're speaking or now. Feel free to do that, and then I'll collect them later.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully people will still continue to come on in. Thank you all for coming on a Saturday morning at what for some of us is an early hour. I'd like to introduce our panelists. In fact, they will be introducing themselves, but we have four gentlemen who have had different experiences related to dispossession, and they will be telling you about it. Each person on the panel is going to answer a set of questions that I sent to them in advance, and they won't be repeated for each person. They have 8 minutes to tell us their story, and then you're going to hear the answers to these questions. Your name and which place in Palestine you come from, and what is your occupation? That's number one. Number two, what was your own or your family's experience of the Nakba and or the 1967 war and its aftermath? The third question, did you and or your family flee to a refugee camp, or did they go elsewhere? Please tell us in some detail about this experience. Number four, what were a couple of experiences you and or your family had during exile? Loss of property, jobs, etc., violence, loss of family members, friends, etc. The fifth question they've been asked to answer is, what is your experience of dispossession? When and how many times have you and or your family had to move? What have you lost? Property, family members, friends, culture, education, identity, etc. Then the sixth question is, without going into detail about how this could happen, do you believe there will ever be peace between Israel and the Palestinians. So I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, and all of them will be answering the same set of questions in what they tell you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Barb. Thank you for coming out on a Saturday morning. My name is Maher Nawaf Ariqat. There is no A in English, so it's Ariqat, you know? So I was born and raised in the old city of Jerusalem, a couple of kilometers outside the old city. We call it Al-Balad, Qadima, you know? I was 12 years old when the second Nakba happened. You know, the first Nakba was 1948, when the state of Israel, that colonial settler state, became a country or became a state, where it was imposed on us by the UN. So I'm a product of the second Nakba, which is the 1967 war, where Israel attacked, you know, obviously, and overwhelmed 3 Arab countries, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, obviously with the support of the US and Europe. I was forced out of my house that my great-grandfather lived in. My own family had a history of about 300 to 400 years in the old city of Jerusalem. So we were forced by gun, by tanks, by the Air Force on top of us to leave. We were given a few minutes to get out or get killed, you know. So the tactics they're using for the last 16 months in Gaza, they were used on us in 1967, and obviously they were used on us, our people, in 1948. So I was forced to walk from the old city of Jerusalem to the border of Jordan, which is about 30 kilometers, 20 miles approximately. Obviously under heavy bombardment, you know, we were hundreds of thousands of Palestinians walking on the main road from Jerusalem to Jericho to the Jordan River where the border is. You know, we're all running for our lives. You know, and it's so sad and it's so disgusting. I've been reliving the same nightmare I went through in 1967 with our people in Gaza. Fortunately for me, I just went one way. Our people in Gaza, they were going back and forth, you know, east, north, middle, you know, south and east. So I ended up a refugee. We crossed to Jordan and I ended up a refugee in Jordan. I was 12 years old at the time, you know. Obviously, we lost a lot of family members, a lot of friends, walking those 20 miles. Fortunately for me, you know, I became a refugee in Jordan for about 2.5 years, but I have had family there where they took me in. Otherwise, I would have been in one of those refugee camps until now. Those refugee camps, they were the product of the 1967. They are still in existence in Jordan, where millions of Palestinians are living there. When the war broke out and we had to walk, I had a younger brother who was 14 months old, and he was passed between all the people that were walking from Jerusalem to the Jordan border. So we don't know, maybe he was passed by different people because he was a heavy 14 months old. And we're all running different directions. We don't know where everybody's at. It was me and my 3 brothers and my mom and my daughter, my sister. So at different times, we don't know where each others are because everybody's running for cover, you know, the Air Force on top shooting people down. It's like a turkey hunt, you know. They were doing it at their own leisure, you know. They come down, they scare you with a bomb run or with their machine gun, you know, and they let you go for a while, and then you hide. If there's a tree, you hide under a tree, what happened, you know, whatever. So, you know, at the end of the road where we ended up, where we crossed the Jordan River, we all kind of kept looking for each other. Some of us, obviously, you know, left over because they were either injured or dead. you know. Lucky for me, all of our family was intact, you know. The irony of the whole thing is my father wasn't there. You know, my father at the time worked for the UN, UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Agency that feeds the Palestinian refugees from the 1948. He was in the US, and he didn't know if we were dead or alive. He knew the war happened, and there was no contact, there was no, you know, you could do it like today's experience where you can, within 5 minutes, you can tell who's where and who's, you know, you can make a phone call. So it took about a month for him to find out that we were still alive. And he had to go through the UN, you know, United Nations, the people in charge in Jordan because we went to the UN office in Jordan to register as refugees. So anyhow, he found out that we were still alive, you know. So fortunately for me, you know, it took about, he was, at the time he had, working for the UN, they gave him an, what do you call it, an alien status, you know. It took him a couple of years to become a citizen of the US, and then after that he was able to petition for us to come over here. So I ended up in the United States at the end of 1970, November 1970, I ended up here, you know. But, you know, I am a Palestinian American, obviously. I'm a proud Palestinian American, but also I'm a proud Palestinian whose people are going through hell for the last 77 years, ever since the invention of that state called Israel, you know. So, you know, it's what happened to our people is unbelievable. You know, we're the only people still occupied in this world. The injustice that was inflicted on us as Palestinian people is unheard of. From 1948 till now, and you all know and you've seen what's going on. You see the brutal treatment of us Palestinians in Gaza and also on the West Bank, you know. There is also a genocide going on in the West Bank that, you know, a lot of people don't know about. You know, they're using the same tactics they used on Gaza to inflict more suffering and more hardship on our people. You know, and all we want as people is we need to be free, you know. All we're asking as Palestinians is to end the occupation. You know, I'm fast forwarding right now. You know, if they don't end the occupation, this problem will carry on for another 500 years. So the occupation is the core problem of what's going on to our people. You know, we realize that, okay, the Israeli people are not going anywhere. There's about 7 million of them. The Palestinians are not going anywhere. There's about 7 million of us too there. So it's either you free us or kill us all, you know. Oh, okay. Sorry. What do you want me to talk about? Okay. You know what? You want me to pass it on to you, and then we go back and forth? You know. So ending the occupation is the best solution to end the problem there. And if you end the occupation in Palestine, the whole region will settle. We will have peace and prosperity in the whole Middle East. We will have no more wars because Israel creates everything bad in this whole world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahir. Thank you, Barbara, for organizing, and to Michael for organizing this event. My name is Fadi Zenayed. I am a Ramallite, which means my family comes from Ramallah. My ancestor, some 400 years ago, founded that land. It's a Christian town. And I was born in Jerusalem, June of 1961. So I came to the U.S. in November of 1967. So I endured the occupation for about 6 months. And we came in 1967. But during that, right before my birthday, there was a war called the 6-Day War. Now, I wrote a poem about this event that happened to, while I was there, to me, and I wanted to share this poem with you and then explain it, and it'll get you to know how I felt and what happened to me. The poem is called That Faithful Day. Let me tell you a story. It's true, and I lived it when I was a kid. Hold on a second. Oh, I messed up here. Back up. Okay. That faithful day. Here's a story for you. I know it to be true. I lived it as a child. It was not rather mild. For a kid of 6, still playing with sticks. I wandered through Ramallah. No fear, I was in the bosom of Allah. Everyone knew who I was, the son of Uda. Painting he does, a partner of 2, that I knew. I remember that faithful day when it was taken all away. When the strange man said, a war is coming, hide from the bombing. The bombs will surely hit our wall so close to City Hall. Gather your kids, gather your stuff, kids. We must be like the inside of lids, sealed away from the shelling, coming at our dwelling. Sneak through the night, hurry without delay. Are we safe yet? No was the bet. This cousin's place is a direct sight, for here the bombs will surely strike. Gather your belongings once more, we must run evermore. My older brother could not wait, surely he was to be the bait. My mother was filled with panic about his fate, her eyes ever ready to locate. A curfew was imposed on our town, leaving it gloomy and brown. She clutched my hand as we all walked across our land. Did we make it to Grandma's all right? Her face filled with so much fright. I will never forget that look I have memorized like a book. It was a long walk, not filled with talk. No need, I realized the impact, was my older brother intact. That was the pain that lay along the lane. We arrived home safely. My mother searched frantically. There over there was my brother, safe and sound like my grandmother. What a scare it was that day, several days after the month of May. Things changed after that. Every day I saw a man with an army hat. He had a rifle and a gun. I remember there was no more fun. We had to obey the curfew. Too young I was that I knew. I loved eggs and spaghetti. No more, what a pity. Eggs represent rebirth. Spaghetti is flour that comes from the earth. I died on that faithful day, leaving behind my childhood along the way. Now, I wrote this when the war was coming, when I say that there was a person who came in, there was a town crier. There was no communication there. There was no cell phones, no TV. There was one TV in the whole town that we always begged my grandmother to take us there. But there was no TV, nothing. And a person came from, I don't know where, and our home was right across City Hall. So people gathered in front of City Hall, and there was a lot of people, I remember. And I remember this one gentleman come in and tell us a war was coming. And everybody started ordering the grocery store, which was right under the City Hall. And my mother thought that the bombing was surely going to be directed at City Hall. We were so close, just across the street. I'm sorry, across, it's not a big street, it's a street that's probably less than from here to the wall. And so she took us to her cousin's house, and they had a bomb shelter. But my brother, who wanted to go back to my grandmother, sneaked out and went back. And so my mother had to take us back. And looking across, as I was going, I saw some tanks from off a distance, not near, I don't remember anything near. But we made it to my grandma's and we were safe. And this experience is not traumatic. It was to me, but when we see what we're seeing on our television sets, on our phones, what's happening in Gaza, imagine the traumatic experience of those children. I didn't lose any family members. I didn't have my home destroyed. I didn't have the streets torn up. I didn't have a lack of money, or the banks were closed, or schools were closed. None of that. But it has left an indelible imprint in me that I have went on to become an attorney, an author. I wrote a book called Israel's Apartheid System, Observations of Israel's Apartheid System. You know, so just imagine what that's going to do to those kids, okay? Now, I came here in 1967. I remember the day we left Palestine. I didn't flee by foot. I didn't like Manhattan did.